Hey everybody, welcome to the Retired 25 podcast. I'm your host, Salomon Roybal. And today with us, we have a very, very special guest with us, Devon Vincent. I met Devon back in October 2 years ago at the Forbes 30 Under 30 conference. And we kind of hit it off right away, you know. He was one of the first people I met. We linked up over real estate investing. He connected me to the Forbes of culture. He connected me with a lot of good people that you have to know in that circle. And I'm forever grateful for being accepted into that world. And please welcome Devon Vincent. How are you, Devon?
I'm good, man. I'm good, man. Appreciate you having me on here, man. It's an honor, man. Like you said, we've known each other for a few years now, man.
Yeah,
I love to see like things you're doing, man. So
thank
thanks,
you, thank
man.
you. Yeah, I remember freezing my ass off over there in Boston.
Right, man. That was rain and just cold. It was
you
bad,
know,
man. All bad.
I'm not talking bad about Forbes, nothing like that. But that event was a show. That event was
Yeah,
a show for a lot of reasons, right?
yeah. I
But
think it
no,
made sense on paper, but when you add the elements into it, it's like, yeah, it wasn't a
I
good
don't.
idea.
But you know what? I don't think anything makes sense on paper. Like as soon as you write an outdoor event in October in Boston, like that does not make sense, right? Even on paper.
You're right about that.
But it was a cool event though, man. I appreciated you taking me around Boston, showing me the spots. When we had to go eat clam chowder, that's fire.
Yeah,
What was that market? Quincy Market, right?
yeah. The Quincy Market.
Yeah, man. That was. I still think about that clam chowder every once in a while.
Yeah.
That was good out
That was
there.
good. I haven't been down there in a while, man. I think it's closed now with everything going on.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. So, Devon, what made you? How long you been doing entrepreneur? How long you been doing your side hustle? Like, tell us a little bit about your journey. I know people are very interested in that.
Well, I think I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit.
Yeah.
Just as a kid, my vision was always to own my own business someday. Even like in high school, I think my first side hustle I ever had was I think my sophomore or junior year, I
Mm-hmm.
had got accepted into this like conference for technology in California. It was
Okay.
like but I had to raise money to be able to go there. So came up with different ideas. This lady at the church I was going to, she offered to like bake pound cakes for me and I could sell them.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, she would make like these little small pound cakes, and I would sell it for $5. So I would walk around with a book bag full of pound cakes, just standing in the hallway, just like slinging pound cakes, just trying to get people to buy it and just kind of telling my story. I think that's one thing I've always enjoyed doing. I think part of the journey is like telling my story. I think that's how people connect with me and want to build with me on different things. So that's kind of always helped me out. But I had that side hustle, and then um, I had I had friends who like would pay me to do like their math homework for them.
Oh
Like I was
wow.
always good at math, so I would just like charge them like $25 to complete an assignment for them.
$25.
So like yeah. So it was like it'd take me like 10 minutes to do it. They give me $25, and like back then I felt like that was just an easy come up.
Yeah.
So it was just like always thinking about ways I could create my own and have my own outside of like maybe having a job and things like that.
Uh-huh.
And that even translated more when I went to college. A few of my friends and I, we started this fashion blog called My Unlimited Style. And we were all like into like sneakers and just clothes and fashion. So we um, we created like a sneaker competition on campus. We had it 2 years in a row.
Uh-huh.
We had great turnout. We had different events that we hosted. So and we were, I think at that time when we were in school, this was like back in 2011 and 12, like the things we were doing
Yeah.
was a little bit different than what other people were doing, especially on campus, like the things we were putting together. So I always surrounded myself around people who kind of were ambitious and visionaries and wanted to create their own as well.
Yeah.
Like I have my friends, they have their own clothing on called De La John. Uh, and that's like from that same circle, like we kind of branched out and started doing our own things. And then I got into like fitness real heavy after I graduated. Just because of like just my family history with health
Yeah.
and like just wanting to do better and live a better lifestyle. I started really taking it serious like in 2013 or 14. And then over time, you kind of start to develop skills
Mm-hmm.
um, and then people start asking you like, hey, can you train me? And can you help me out? So like over time, I just started like working out with people and posting videos and just starting to kind of really start to build a brand.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when you get into like the corporate world, sometimes that kind of takes precedence over like some of the things you're doing. But like now with COVID and quarantine, I kind of refocused on like building that fitness brand back up. So I'm like really trying to hit the pavement hard now.
Oh, okay, that's what's up, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, no. It's funny because you mentioned you were the one slanging pound cakes in high school. Because
Mm-hmm.
we had a kid that used to walk around our whole city with a duffel bag every day, filled with chips, sodas. You know, and he sold it for $1, so who wasn't gonna buy that?
Right.
But you know, it's funny because a lot of high schools always frown upon that, like that little hustle. They
Mm-hmm.
always, you know, they always want you to not do that, not sell food to other students. I don't know why,
Yeah.
but my niece started doing it as well. You know, towards the end, right before the lockdown, she was I forgot what she was selling. I think she was selling like chips or something at the school,
Mm-hmm.
and they told her she couldn't do it anymore. I was like, man, but
Yeah. And like you see the mindset of like just people who are confined to this box or this way of thinking. It's like you should embrace kids who are thinking outside the box and being creative about ways to make money and generate money for themselves.
yeah,
Those are going to be the business leaders later on in life
yeah,
because they're starting at an early age, but you're trying to stifle their growth and just their potential there. Like I love when I see people, kids, especially young kids, like creating their own lemonade stand or doing whatever they selling candy or whatever
yeah,
to try to make some extra cash. It's like that's that entrepreneurial spirit that they're developing. So
right.
I love it.
No, man, it is amazing to see it. Like I say to my niece all the time, right? But at the same time, it hurts my own pockets because she charges me like she charges everybody else.
Yeah.
She don't give no family discounts, bro.
You gotta support the entrepreneur, man.
Yeah. Well, you know, we actually coach her up on that all the time. She, you know, I'll tell her like, hey, pay me this picture of it. How much you want to charge me?
Mhm.
And she'll be like, no, whatever you want to give me. I'm like, nah, you know, give me a price. Set me a price. Like,
Yeah.
take into account how long it's gonna take you, you know, what you have to spend, what everything. And then she'll give me a price. It's still way cheaper than what she should be. You
Mhm.
know, to get her in that mindset of like, you know, knowing your worth and charging what you got to charge. So yeah, it is cool, especially when you can teach it to young kids.
Yeah, and that's because like it's important because there are people, adults who are still trying to figure out how to trying to find their worth and like how to be able to charge with their or worth with their business and things like that. And that's
Mm,
even myself, like when I was starting off, like and I would put together like workout plans for people and trying to like I started off like working with friends and like like I don't want to charge my friends a crazy price for like the plans I was putting together, but
mm,
also just knowing what my worth was and the time I spent putting stuff together because it was really customized to
yeah.
fit everyone's kind of need. So just kind of learning that as you kind of go through the journey. Um, it sometimes depending on where you are, it takes you a longer time to learn that. So if you can like instill that in them early, it definitely helps out later on in life.
Yeah. Now, how is it? You know, I've never had a corporate job. I never had a boss. Well, I
Hmm.
did for like 3 weeks, but that didn't last long. But how is it? You know, trying to be an entrepreneur, like trying to make something happen on your off time, and having your regular 9 to 5 job. Like, what's that experience like? I know there's a lot of people that are probably in that same position right now.
Yeah, for me, it's challenging because I know where my passions are,
Mm-hmm.
and like trying to go in and clock in and do something that you may enjoy doing, but you're not passionate about,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to commit 8, 9, 10 hours to a day doing this, and then you have to find time to work on your side hustle or their other business, your other job. And so it's like you have to really be disciplined
Mm-hmm.
and be good with like time management and just you have to sacrifice some things. So that's one thing I had to learn, like, I went to grad school. I got my MBA. And after grad school, I started working on a startup. And I gave myself a year and a half to focus on it. But like during that time, like I didn't have a job. I was driving like Uber and Lyft just
Yeah.
to make some money. But like I would sacrifice like hanging out, traveling, going places because I was like really focusing on what I wanted to do and what I wanted to accomplish.
Mm.
You miss out on a lot of things, but you also have to look at the end goal, like what do I want to be, and where do I want to take this business or this idea. So
Yeah.
you know, when you're working in corporate, it's even more challenging because of the demand of working and trying to find time to focus on the business, your side hustle as well.
Mm-hmm.
It for me it was challenging early on because you get comfortable with a good job, you're getting good money, and it's like, all right, I'll put off working on this for like a day or two, and then it turns into a month or two, and then a year passes. It's like, man, I haven't even been putting much energy into
Yeah.
the things I'm really passionate about. So if you have a good support system or just someone that kind of reminds you or something that kind of keeps you going when you start to get comfortable or you kind of get discouraged,
Mm-hmm.
those are helpful. That's helped me in the past.
Okay. Yeah, man. I know a lot of people that, they're especially right now with COVID and the quarantine, like, they're in a position where they're trying to figure out and they're really trying to think like, okay, what am I gonna do? What's my next step after this? Because their corporate job or their 9 to 5 might not be there anymore. It's not that type of job or that position might not just, or they might have cut back their hours. So that's really good for people that are trying to take that next step into the entrepreneurial world, do their own thing, support yourself, surround yourself with people that are going to help you out. And I think that's
Yeah,
for anybody entrepreneur starting off. You got to surround yourself with that good energy.
right.
And
And
it's so
it's
easy to fall
important.
back.
Yeah, it's because you get discouraged a lot, man. There are times where you just want to give up. Things aren't working the way you want them to, or like you may.
All right, continue. Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, you good. You might come up across a challenge or some type of roadblock, and it's sometimes you need that support system to kind of help you get to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like during this time, like this, I think this showed a lot of people with COVID-19 hitting and people being laid off. You realize that the job security you thought you had,
Mm-hmm.
isn't really there. So it's like you have to start thinking of other ways to generate income. And being an entrepreneur, it sounds amazing. Like it's like really like a glorified kind of role or space to be in, but
Yeah.
it's a lot of work. And I think a lot of people sometimes they try to go outside of their realm of like their wheelhouse. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're trying to think about things like just focus on things you're good at, things you're passionate about, and like how can I monetize that?
Mm-hmm.
And it may not have to be a full-time job. It could be like a side hustle where you're making maybe $600 a month doing this. And it's like it's supplementing some of your income. So you're not totally depending on uh, one source of income. So just thinking small, you don't always have to think big and like have the next big idea. And
Mm-hmm.
that's something I always have to tell myself sometimes. It's like, I don't always have to start small. You can have the big vision, but start small and start putting those systems and things in place to help it grow to that where you want it to go.
Yeah. And yeah, it's so true because you got to have that passion. And if a lot of times people they're not thinking about like what's passionate for them. They think about what's gonna make them the most money.
Mm-hmm.
And it might work out for maybe 1, 2, 3 years, but when the downturn comes or it starts to struggle, since that passion is not behind it, it's gonna get real difficult real fast.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Jeff Bezos, man. He started off selling books. That's probably the most, you know, who would have thought that books would have turned into $1 trillion business, right?
Right.
But he had a passion for it. He had a passion for selling books. And
Yeah.
now he's one of the best CEOs on the planet, one of the best companies in the world ever.
Right. And like I think nowadays with everything being so instant and just in your face and just so quick, people forget about that journey. They forget about how long it took for him to get to where he is now.
Yeah.
Like it didn't happen overnight. So
Yeah.
I think that's why a lot of people get discouraged, because they set these expectations that, all right, by this day and this time, I should be here,
Mhm.
either in my career or with the business that I'm starting. And if I'm not there, then I'm going to give up. Then it's like you have to be realistic about what you're trying to do. There's going to be ups and downs.
Yeah.
There are more entrepreneurs fail more than they succeed, and I think that's what makes them great entrepreneurs,
Mhm.
because they're able to bounce back
Yeah.
and still have success. And I think a lot of times we forget about that part of it. You have to fall down, scrape your knee up a little bit, get back up.
Yeah.
It makes you tougher, and you learn from those experiences. So I think going into any venture, idea, or whatever with that mindset, it'll help you sustain through those tough times.
Yeah. Especially now with so much social media and like, you know, how you said everything's in your face. People really get lost on like the Lambo and the cars and the houses and stuff, the
Yeah,
jewelry. When at the end of the day, it's, you know, a lot of stuff could be faked.
yeah,
You know, like Grant Cardone says, you can fake a Lambo, but you can't fake a jet.
yeah,
So, you know, it's really about focusing and just getting like figuring out what's real out there and what's fake. Because there's a lot of fake people out there that, you know, they might have had success or they might have a level of success, but it's not enough to fund that lifestyle. You know,
right.
it's really not that expensive to lease a Lambo these days.
Yeah, right. And I think people get caught up in that. They see all these things, and then they're like, oh man, if he can do it, and if he was able to get this, I can do it too. Not understanding that either they're lying about what they did, or they put in a lot of work that you didn't see
Yeah.
to get there. You think that it's just easy as me just putting a few posts out there, and then people are just going to gravitate towards you or whatever it is. But it's like you got to really put the work in. And I go back to, it's all about the team, man. Like, it's difficult to build a business without having a support system, whether
Yeah.
it's a team or whomever. You need that around you, and so you have to understand that you won't be able to get there by yourself. And then having people who positive energy and also going to be realistic with you about things as well.
Mhm.
Like, you need that realistic feedback, and because that's going to help you grow as well. So you have to just be realistic with yourself, and make sure that you have that good team around you to kind of get you to the next step.
How'd you make your team? How did you come about to like qualify people to make them part of your team, your inner circle, whatever you want to call it?
So I always like to surround myself around people who are either doing things that I want to do, or have like some type of knowledge that I'm interested in learning more about.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because like that's how I grow. We can build off each other. Maybe I have some skill set or some knowledge that they're interested in learning about.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's a win-win. But I like to surround myself around people who are gonna help me grow.
Okay.
So yeah, so it's like fine, if you meet somebody who's maybe interested in the same thing you're interested in, and they've been doing it for a while, like talking to you about real estate.
Mm-hmm.
I was just picking your brain about so much, and I'm like, this is where I want to get to. You're already doing it, and you have the knowledge in the game, and you didn't mind talking to me about it. So that was another thing, that you were willing to just have that conversation, and
Yeah.
you were a genuine person. So I was like, yeah, this is somebody I would love to just continue to connect with.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of times when people don't want to talk about it, it's because they don't really know how to teach it.
Right.
You know, because it is a skill set to like be able to explain things in a certain way so that everyone can understand it. But there's also the other hand of that where people don't want to explain it because they don't want competition in it. And, you know, the way I see it is I could talk to 1,000 people and give them step by step about anything. But only one person is really going to do anything about it. You know, so it's really there's no competition in sharing your knowledge. There's no competition in sharing what you know and passing that down, because at the end of the day, a lot of people aren't going to take the action. A lot of people aren't going to do stuff. And when they do it, when they do take the action, when they do start making success, then that's great, because now you have another person in your circle where you're like, hey, you know, I helped them. Now they're going to keep helping other people. And like one of my mentors said, when you help somebody, they grow to a certain level, and then you start learning from them. You know, then
Right.
you start becoming a student as well because they go through a whole nother lifestyle, a whole nother path where they picked up different things that can teach you something new.
Right.
Man, I'm always open to share, and that's why we started this podcast, is to share that knowledge with all entrepreneurs that are struggling, starting off, have been in the game, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's important, man. And like that saying goes, steel sharpens steel. It's, I mean, you're putting people in a position to excel, and along that journey, as they kind of get to that point, they're probably picking up new skill sets that you may not have experience or know about. So like you said, they're teaching you at some point. Like, so
Yeah.
it's only to better, it's helping someone else. It trickles down, and you become a better person because of it as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's important, man.
So you talked about your fitness. Is that like what exactly are you doing in the fitness world?
So I have an Instagram page. It's called it's my name, Devon Vincent, at underscore on Instagram. So I post different exercises that I do, and I try to focus on like exercises that involve a lot of movement, mobility,
Mm-hmm.
agility, like using body weight to strengthen yourself
Mm-hmm.
and things like that. So it's things that people can do at home or like outside. You don't need a lot of equipment to do,
Okay.
especially during these times. It's helpful to a lot of people. I do some virtual classes as well. I have some people that I train. I'm
Okay.
hosting a virtual IG live workout session next Friday on this platform, on this page. It's called Sweat Weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll be hosting like a 30-minute workout session. And then I also have a partner out here that him and I are gonna start hosting like some group session classes outdoors with some
Okay.
people, just kind of just get people active, especially with it being warm in Boston now. So we can do some things outside.
Yeah,
So
you gotta take advantage of those 6 hours, man.
yeah, it is like 6 hours, man. It's crazy. But so yeah, man, I'm trying to really build upon that. Um, and then like working with you on some things you have going on with the products that you're selling revolved around nutrition, and then like offering like different workout plans and things for people um, online, so people and like it comes to like consultations and things like that to help them not only with their physical health, but like make sure you eat properly and things like that.
Yeah.
So I want to encompass all of that, and I'm also hosting a virtual session or event on Tuesday focused around mental health, um, which I think is also important. Like you can't just only focus on your physical, your mental has to be
Mm-hmm.
in line as well. And I think with everything going on, not only in the U.S. but just in the world right now, I think mental health is probably the most important thing that we should be trying to take care of, because that sets the tone for everything else.
Yeah.
So the event on Tuesday is going to focus on men of color
Mm-hmm.
and around mental health, because just us being how men grow up in general, you don't talk about how you feel. You don't talk about your feelings, or if you're dealing with stress or anxiety or depression. Those are things that we just don't talk about,
Yeah.
and I know it takes a toll on us. So
Mm-hmm.
if we can have those open, honest conversations with each other, it can help us kind of grow collectively and better ourselves. So
Okay.
yeah.
And if someone wants to be part of that conversation, where do they register? Where do they sign up for that?
So you can I'm gonna post the link on my Instagram bio, but you can
Okay.
just go to my page at Von Vincent underscore. It's VonVincent underscore on Instagram. Um, you can find it in my the link in my bio, and
Okay.
it's just like a create like a Facebook event where people can just I'd say they're going to attend the event, and there's a link for the Zoom in the in that post, so
Okay.
people can attend. And I want people to be comfortable, just if they want to kind of talk and speak about some of the challenges that they're facing, or just listen. I just want it to be a space where people feel comfortable and there's no judgment, and we can just have honest conversations about things. So,
No, that's so cool, man. Because yeah, like you said, a lot of men grow up in that where they don't express themselves, and at the end of the day, it manifests itself in a way where it's not always a positive, the most uh, like rewarding way to express your emotions because you bottle them in so long. So yeah, that's cool that you started that, man. How'd that come about? Like what?
so I have friends who struggle with like just mental health, like whether it's anxiety or depression, and like I even found myself like during this time with like quarantine and COVID-19, like when I go to the grocery store, feeling like just anxious being around a group of people. And I've never been with someone who kind of really dealt with or had issues with anxiety, but I feel uncomfortable being around groups of people right now. So
Wow.
that was something I realized about myself. And then with just like all the protests and things going on with this racial injustice in this country and across the world, it's just compounding things that are happening. People are losing jobs right now, and like this, their economic future is uncertain. And so it's like there's so many things that people are dealing with, and having a space for them to like to talk about and just get it off their chest, I think is helpful. And I think right now it's important for us to like be able to just find people, like-minded people, or people who are dealing with the same thing, to be able to just have these conversations with, because it can help out a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's good, man. I'm definitely gonna be there. I hope if you're listening to this, you connect to it, because especially in times like this, I think everyone needs help.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask for that help. Don't be afraid to reach out to people. Don't be afraid to ask people how they're doing, man.
Yeah.
I know I think like 2 weeks ago or last week, I kind of just sent you a text. I was like, hey man, how are you?
Yeah.
And we had stuff to talk about business wise, but I still want to make sure. And that's how I've been starting a lot of my conversations lately. Is just seeing how people are doing. Because with the quarantine starting off, at first people were just kind of like, oh cool, it's sometime at home. I get to catch up on everything I've been missing out on. But now we're 3 months into it, 4 months into it, and it's really starting to take its toll on a lot of people.
Yeah.
I was actually feeling it myself. I was a couple of weeks ago. I was like, I just need to be outside. Like, so I started walking around my block out here in Columbia, and I never do that, because I'm usually outside. I'm meeting people. I'm going to different places, so I never needed that to just escape from the room. And the other day I was just like anxious. I needed to do something. I just like put my shoes on. I was like, I'm gonna go outside. I just need to walk around, be in fresh air, man. So I'm sure, and not everyone has that ability. Not everyone has the ability to go outside these days, especially if you have a weaker immune system, if you're already sick, if you have prior conditions, you have to be even more cautious. And yeah, I feel that way sometimes when I'm in the grocery store too. Like I see too many people in an aisle, and I'm like, I'll come back.
Yeah.
I'll come back to that. Yeah, I don't need milk right now.
Yeah, right. And like it's crazy that this has become like the new normal, just kind of how we operate. But like you said, like I've been reaching out to so many people that I haven't spoken to in months or even in years. A lot, just calling them on the phone, see how everybody's doing, and like I start a lot of conversations that way with asking people how they're doing.
Yeah,
It's important, man, just to check up on people, because
it
you never
really
know.
is.
Like you said, there are a lot of people who maybe they can't leave their homes, or they're at home by themselves all day.
Yeah,
Like they don't have people to interact with. So like it's just like those that can kind of over time that can kind of start to weigh on you.
yeah.
Like I had a friend who said he doesn't really leave the house at all, just because he's so concerned about everything that's going on. It's like,
Yeah.
and it affected him. He had like a small breakdown a few weeks back just because of it. It's like it's people kind of dealing with a lot of stuff, man. So
Yeah.
the health and wellness is just all about encompassing every aspect of it, man. Mental, physical,
Yeah.
emotional, all that stuff, man. So
And
you
that
gotta
applies to everybody.
tackle it all. Mm.
That applies to everybody, not just
Yeah,
entrepreneurs. You have to have your mind right, regardless of
yeah,
what you're doing. Regardless of what you're doing.
yeah.
But
So I'm glad that like we're in the space and time now where like mental health is something that continues to be brought up, and it's people are starting to have these conversations. So I kind of want to be a part of that as well.
yeah,
Yeah.
especially return back to entrepreneur and like business side, right? First thing I teach, first thing a lot of my mentors teach, is that mental stability. You have to have your mind right. You have to have your mind in the right thought space, the right framework to be able to continue through this journey. And especially now, like, there's a lot of people that started businesses in January and March came around and shut them down, right?
Yeah.
So they're in a position now where they're thinking like, wow, this was a huge mistake. I'm never gonna do this again, right? And it's really not that. It's really, you have to have the mindset to be able to pivot in a situation like this. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not the best time to start a business, but it's the world we're in, man. No one knew this was gonna happen. You started it in January thinking that the economy was gonna keep going up, and sadly it didn't. Sadly, the global pandemic hit, and everything got shut down.
Yeah.
So you have to have that mental stability, and I think it's great. Having that open concept, open forum for people to express themselves when they can't normally do it, or they're not in a place that nurtures that type of conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And like just from an entrepreneur or a business aspect, having that mental stability helps with like just decision making when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to your business. Like you're able to think clearer.
Mm-hmm.
You make smarter decisions, and like some of like if we go back to like the 2008 2009, some of the biggest companies now were created during that time, during that recession.
Mm-hmm.
So like this is it sucks that we're in this space, but for those who have the mental capacity to be able to try to kind of pivot or just think about what opportunities
Yeah.
are going to present themselves on the other side of this,
Yeah.
and like how can I position myself to be on that other side and have operate a successful business or start a successful business.
Yeah.
I think that's the mindset that people need to have.
Mm-hmm.
I know a few people who started businesses at the beginning of this year or the end of last year who like it sucks that they, I mean, it's like they invested all this time and money into it, and it's like, man, damn, this hit. So
Yeah.
it's like, how can I? But you have to be like, how can I either pivot or like just find new opportunities that maybe I hadn't been thinking about before.
Yeah.
And I think like we have so much access to like technology and like the internet and social media. It could be a great thing for entrepreneurs if we know how to utilize it. And I'm learning and kind of getting more experience and exposure with it now.
Yeah.
Just figuring out how to take advantage of the Zooms and like offering virtual classes and things like that. That things that I wouldn't have normally thought about doing
Yeah.
beforehand. Yeah.
My financial mentor, I had him on the show, the previous podcast, and he ended it, with the best phrase, right?
Mm.
It's always the worst as you're going through it. It's always the worst as you're going through it. He was speaking specifically about what we're living through right now, but that applies to any point in time in your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah.
It's always the worst when you're going through it, right? When your business has its first negative month, that's the worst. When your business starts to fall, that's the worst. When you're opening up, that's the worst. But once you get through that, once you get to the other side, you see what you learned, you see a new opportunity, you see where you can pivot from here forward so that those things don't happen, right?
Mm.
I mean, you look at Amazon. I like talking about Amazon just because of, what they've really created. I know there's other companies that have created the same thing, but to me, Amazon really made one of the biggest pivots in the world to go from an online bookstore. Once that fell down, they started pivoting, started offering more things. They started pivoting now where they're not just a retail site. Now you can stream from Amazon. You can host your website on Amazon. You can order groceries from Amazon, right? They're in everything now. They even have a technology sector where they're developing smartphones and tablets and stuff. you have the Fire Stick, you have the Fire Tablet. So,
Yeah,
those type of pivots are crucial for an entrepreneur. You
right.
can't be stuck in what you're doing. You can't be stuck in your mindset of like, this is what got me so far, and it's gonna keep going, pushing forward because the economy, the world changes.
Yeah. I remember when I was in grad school, it was something that always stuck out to me, and just about business and entrepreneurship. It was like, never fall in love with a product, always fall in love with the customer. And
Mm-hmm.
meaning that you may have this idea, you think that it's the best idea in the world, but if
Mm-hmm.
people don't want it, or if it's not the right time, then it's like you need to understand who your customer is, what they're looking for exactly,
Yeah.
and then make sure you're providing that service or product that is going to um, be able to be that solution to what they're looking for.
Yeah.
So it's like being able to pivot, and like you may thought this was a great idea, but maybe during this time, this is not what people need. They need something a little bit different. So understanding that, and not giving up, but just figuring out how can I create something during this time that is going to be able to um, solve this problem that for this customer that I'm trying to solve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Devin, as we start to wrap up here, what's something that you would share with someone, like, if they're starting off, or if they're starting to struggle, or they're starting to think, this isn't for them? What's something that you could share with somebody, or some words of wisdom you would give somebody?
I think one thing that I always ask myself is what's your why?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why are you trying to start a business, or why are you trying to get into this space, or whatever? It's like, if once you understand what your why is,
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be able to fuel you and get you to where you want to be, because
Mm-hmm.
your why is going to continue to push you and motivate you when things get tough, when you don't know what the answer is to get to the next step,
Yeah.
when you fall short on money and you're trying to figure out how can I fund this next part of the project or the business.
Yeah.
So that why is going to help you overcome those challenges.
Yeah.
So always remind yourself, why are you doing this? What's the why? If it's financial freedom, if it's trying to help your family, or whatever it is, make sure that you have that in your back pocket, so you can always just pull it out and just like, all right, this is why I'm doing this. So let's go now.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm gonna take that a little step further. When you develop your why, and this is something I coach with my team, so it's something that I've had pretty extensive practice in. When you're developing your why, you have to go 7 levels deep. Right? And what do I mean by that? You have to ask yourself why 7 times to figure out your true why, your true reason why you're gonna do this. Because the superficial whys never last; they won't help you. All right, so you have to ask yourself 7 times why you want that. And once you get to the 7th level, you will find your true one. And once you get to around like 4 or 5, you will start to cry. That's part of the journey. It's part of the process, right? If your why doesn't make you cry, it's not strong enough.
All right.
So yeah, that's great. Devin, tell us again where we can find you if people want to follow you.
You can find me on Instagram at Von Vincent _. That's VonVincent _. I'm gonna also start working on creating a YouTube page and getting on some other platforms. So I'm trying to expand and kind of be able to touch as many people as I can.
All right, perfect. Man, once you get that, let me know. Give you a shout out on the show. I'm always one of your first followers on anything you do, man. So
Yeah,
I'm
same,
on
man.
there. Well, thanks again, Vincent, Devin. It's been a great conversation. I know that you've been giving people a lot of knowledge. And if you're interested in that conversation, if you're interested in being part of the conversation, please reach out to Devin. He'll get you the link so that you can be part of it.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. And thank you again for having me on here, man. I really do
Thank you.
appreciate it.
Thank you. Well, this has been another episode of Retired 25 Podcast. Again, follow us on all your podcast listening stations. We're also on YouTube and Instagram, and we'll see you in the next episode.